1. You will hear part of a lecture about a scientific expedition at sea in the 19th century. Look at the task, then listen and answer questions 1 to 5.
Today, I'm talking about a round-the-world expedition that took place between 1872 and 1876 aboard a sailing ship called HMS Challenger. This expedition is widely regarded as representing the birth of the subject we now know as oceanography, the study of the world's seas and oceans. Built in 1853, Challenger was unusual in being powered by a steam engine, as well as by sails. This made the ship perfect for exploration and scientific research because it wasn't as dependent on the wind as the traditional sailing ships of its day. The ship was specially adapted for the voyage, and there were laboratories on board, as well as other facilities for research into subjects such as natural history and chemistry. The captain of the ship was a man named George Nares, who had previously been a chartmaker, working for the British Navy in Australia and the Middle East. He was also a writer who'd published an influential book on the subject of navigation. Nares was chosen as captain of the Challenger because of the scientific approach he took to all his work, which made him very well suited to lead an expedition of this sort. The expedition was led by a man called Charles Thomson, whose specialty was botany. Challenger was to travel more than 125,000 kilometers under his leadership. A total of 4,000 new species of marine life were discovered during the expedition, which took samples of the seabed as well as analyzing the waters near the surface. Nearly 1,500 samples of seawater from different locations were collected, each securely sealed in a glass container and returned to Britain. Quite a difficult thing to achieve on board a ship at that time.
You now have some time to look at questions 6 to 10.
So what was the most important achievement of this expedition? Using a technique known as dredging, scientists aboard the ship were able to collect many rock samples from the seabed that contributed enormously to the understanding of mineralogy. But the expedition's greatest achievements concerned the water of the oceans itself. Scientists had long thought that away from the surface and effects of the sun, the temperature of the deep oceans must be constant. By taking measurements in different oceans, scientists aboard Challenger were able to show that this was not the case. Challenger also discovered the existence of the Mariana Trench in the Pacific, where the ocean is at its greatest depth, as well as the underwater ridges in the Atlantic above which the water is relatively shallow. The existence of such variations was another major discovery in what was one of the most significant expeditions of the 19th century. Once back in Britain, the work didn't stop, and it was 19 years before all the final findings of the expedition had been written up and published. The impact and influence of the expedition has been immeasurable and is still felt today. The report came out gradually in 50 separate sections known as volumes, each one contributing significantly to scientific knowledge. In recognition of the scientists' achievements, the American Space Shuttle Challenger was named after the expedition in the 20th century.